And here we go. Spawning at the top left corner of the map, we got ourselves the blue Protoss playing for Root Gaming. It is Creature. And spawning here at the bottom right, starting off with an automatic 0-1 due to the walkover loss in game 1. But hopefully he can bounce back. Representing the team of Storm Gaming, it is Namshar. Alright, so a PVZ on our hands. I'm gonna be quite frank, I have not seen these players, at least their games, as much. Because they don't really play in a lot of the Alpha X's events, which that's my team, if you guys don't know. And a lot of the times these guys don't play on in terms of like the big stage of the tournaments. A lot of times they don't really reach that far, so that kind of limits the amount of games that I can watch them play. So I'm not quite familiar with their playstyle. It'll be interesting to see what kind of builds they kind of bring out. Alright, Namshar going for the dirt. Now, of course, this map does have two potential dirts. One at the bottom side, the bottom middle. And there's also the kind of the triangular pocket base, which it looks like Namshar is going to go for. However, this does have like a couple of entrances. There's this this path, and then there's this path, and then of course, you know, there is this path as well. So a little bit of an open area for the Protoss to attack through. But looks like Creature is going to go and elect to go for a Stargate opening. Starting off with an Orko. Now the question is, will he stop at one Orko? Or maybe two Orko? Maybe three? Generally, it's usually around the 2 or 3 Orko mark, but let's see if he does make that third Orko. Alright, looks like we have a Namshar fan in the live chat, and Pikachu92. By the way, I love your name. Alright, nice save on the drone. So, well done there. Alright, and what do we have here, guys? Looks like Creature is feeling himself, as you know, he's up 1-0. He's like, might as well go for something a little bit interesting. Gonna open up with a fleet beacon. Now, this is the NA regional, so this takes place in the NA scene, which, if you guys don't realize, like, NA ladder can just be quite hilarious. There's like insane amount of shenanigans that happens in the NA ladder. And things like these are actually not too surprising, where there's a carrier rush, which is actually can be effective. However, you usually want to find some sort of damage, because I mean, all in all, let's see here, only one drone going down throughout this whole entire game, so the economy of a Namshar are going to be healthy enough for him to kind of go through the Spire tech tree and get those enough corruptors to counter those colossus. Oh, sorry, not colossus, those carriers. So it's going to be up to these carriers to kind of catch him in a timing where Namshar is not going to have a lot of answers to deal with them. I mean, you can rely on queens, but only for a period of time. I mean, eventually they do run out of transfusion. And it's important to note that Namshar has not scouted this. Like, he tried to go in with the Overlord, but the Stalker did deny the scout. So now this is going to go completely unscouted. Now he does have an inkling, as he does throw up a Spire. I think that might be due to the fact that there's only one Orca, when usually the Protoss opens up with at least 2 or 3 Orcas. And so he's probably thinking, like, some of that gas is going somewhere. Maybe it's to an air fleet of some sort, and he is correct. Alright, does get 1 queen, but also 5 drones. Now, 2 carriers, not the scariest, not interceptors to spare and to shoot out. But you know what? Looks like the 3rd and 4th is coming on the way. So that carrier count is slowly but surely increasing. And he's sticking with it. He is not stopping. He is continuing the carrier production. But at the same time, he is throwing down a bunch of gateways to transition into more of a ground force. So it looks like he will stop after maybe the 5th or 6th carrier, and then invest all his resources into a hard transition. Oh, here we go. Corruptors are out. Can they get at least 1? Yes, they do get 1. And that will, of course, lower the amount of carriers down to 3. Alright, looks like the Corruptors are going to get on top of the carriers. The shield battery does prolong the death, but eventually these Corruptors are just way too strong. I mean, they do counter carriers. They're made to and built for them, specifically, you know, to counter these type of situations. But oh, actually, you know what? With some additional weapons with the cannons, looks like 1 does survive, but at the cost of a Nexus. So, yeah, looks like he, Namshar does at the very least decrease the amount of carriers, and looks like Creature actually once again starting back up. He does realize that the Corruptor count has been resetted, so he's like, this might be my chance to actually get away with the air fleet again. And so he is going to go ahead and attempt to go for an air armada of some sort with the carriers. In the meantime, nice little counterattack. This is a hugely vulnerable area, and that does pull the majority of Creature's army, and that does also leave this base vulnerable. No cancel at all, and it seems like the Creature is just falling apart. His main and his natural under siege here, and when you go in for air tech like this with a double Stargate carriers, you really need those extra gases, those those 7th and 8th gas to really power those carrier productions. Even if it's not carrier productions, which it looks like he's gonna actually start going back into ground, you need the gas for those High Templars and Archons. But anyhow, props to Namshar for kind of keeping the carrier count in check. Well, he hasn't allowed Creature to amass a critical amount of carriers, because of course the larger the amount of carriers, the more exponentially scary it becomes. If you can kind of keep it down to like maybe 4 or lower, well, that's a good spot to keep the Protoss in, and I think Namshar should be happy with that. Alright, looks like Namshar gonna once again attempt, but ooh, actually walks into that stasis trap. And that will trap some of those roaches, but Baneling's gonna roll on in. Oh man, Dust actually clashes into those Archons, which not the greatest trade that there for Namshar. Those Corruptors gonna go ahead and take out the rest of the carriers, but really Creature was not gonna rely on carriers going forward. Looks like he is fully embracing that Archon kind of stalker, the charge a lot kind of army composition. He still needs to deal with these Corruptors, because they can vomit on buildings. But he's also got to be careful about this army here. He cannot, and I mean he cannot, afford to lose his 4th base. This 4th base is so important for Creature to keep him, in this game. I mean, Namshar up to 5 bases. Without this base, Creature will literally just die of attrition. And the poor Archons. Looks like it will force Creature to make a Warp Prism. I would imagine he would try to ferry them over, unless he does not notice them. But here we go. Banelings in the left, army into the right, and oh, does not pull the probes in time, and 16 workers going down. Things just getting worse and worse for Creature, and yeah, I don't think he realized 3 Archons are stuck in his main base. I mean, he really needs these Archons. Like, these Archons are so good in terms of just tanking so much of these Baneling hits, as well as dealing out those splash damage. Keeping those keeping those Immortals in the back alive as well, because they, Archons are fat, so they kind of take up a lot of surface area. And okay, finally he realizes it. But please don't leave your Archon buddy here. Oh no. Okay, he's just going back. He's going back. Leave no man behind, or I guess in this case, leave no Archon behind. Alright, here we go. A lot of army is invested into these Stalkers, which I'm not a fan of. There are some additional charge out weapons into the left side, and I think that with the defender's advantage and the additional weapons, it will be able to push Namshar back. A great hold for Creature, but really Namshar is able to afford to lose these inefficient fight, because his economy is just so strong that he can kind of replenish. He is remaking 7 Broodlords and 18 Banelings. What does Creature has for that? Not a lot, not a whole lot. Only, I mean, there's 15 Stalkers that can get underneath the Broodlords, but he will have to crash into these Banelings, which, yeah, looks like Creature's like, yeah, this is gonna get quite ugly for the Protoss as he taps on out. GG. Namshar gonna go ahead and tie up the series, forces a game 3. Alright, so after starting off 0-1 with that walkover loss. Looks like Namshar has bounced back. Now, this is a good sign for him, as he wasn't completely depressed over that walkover loss. And that does mean that we will be heading into game 3, gonna take place on the map of Data C. And we'll see if Namshar can turn this around and close it for good with a 2-1 score, or if Creature is gonna go ahead and take back the momentum from Namshar. But yeah, I mean, when you opening up with a fleet beacon into 2 Stargate like that, like a lot of times what usually ends up happening, or at least from the games I've seen, is that, you know, unless the Protoss do, it doesn't have to be crazy amount, but decent amount of damage with the initial harass, whether it's from the initial Oracle or maybe, you know, 2 Adepts being sent out in the early game. If you can kind of do some decent economic damage with those units, that sets you up really well for the carrier transition. But if you're not able to really find too much damage with those carriers and the oracles and in the early game, then what happens is that the Zerg is just gonna, you know, power through with the economy, and then he's gonna have enough to deal with those carriers, no problem. So looks like we are here with a 1-1 tied series, and spawning here at the top right. He is the red Zerg player playing for the team of Storm Gaming. Make some noise for Namshar. And spawning here at the bottom left. He is currently looking to close out the series. Playing for Root Gaming, it is Creature. So I kind of noticed that in these past 2 games, it seems like Creature are not gonna do the typical Protoss trick of sending their probes early on out to block that second base natural. And I don't know if it's just a NA thing, or whether it's just like a Creature kind of preference thing, because it just seems nowadays that it's just kind of in the meta to just send that probe and use it to block the Zerg's natural. F Sandstrom in the live chat saying, I think that's all that is needed for the playoffs. Okay, so I think Namshar just needed 1 map win to secure his spot. But I don't recall the score, the map score. Yeah, I guess we'll find out after the Liquipedia page is updated, but he either needs 1 or just a second one here. I'm not quite sure. I'm not gonna confirm or anything. I'm sure someone can do the math, but let's go ahead and focus on this game, where looks like it's a pretty normal game. We do notice that there is no drones mining on the gas. So this is completely just macro-oriented build coming out of Namshar. He has no intention of going for any pressure. He is just gonna drone, and then drone some more. meantime, Creature gonna send his first Orco. Gonna follow up with a second Orco. Now, I don't see a Twilight Council yet. Oh, actually getting a third gas. Will we see a Robo follow up here? Because I would imagine by now he would throw down a Twilight Council and a Forge behind this if he wanted to kind of transition to kind of a gateway. Oh, actually, he throws down both the Forge and Twilight. Okay. So I guess we'll see once those buildings complete what kind of tech he decides he wants to go for. I think right now he's just scouting with the Orco. I mean, besides trying to find some open, vulnerable mineral lines, he is scouting around to see what Namshar is going for so that he can go for the correct tech tree here. Alright. Looks like the Oracles has been pulled back home. And okay, looks like we have our confirmation. Looks like it is going to be a charge lot kind of Archon, maybe with Storm kind of army there, which is generally pretty strong. Like it kind of bodes well for like timing attacks, but it could also work out for like the long game. Let me see how many gateways does he has. Okay, not a ton of gateway. Okay, there we go. Gateway explosion happening now. So yeah, we might actually see a timing push coming out of Creature. I mean, Charge is finishing up. He's got the War Prism for the reinforcements and the Warpins. This might actually be a great time to attack. I mean, the Spire is being thrown down. Let's see how hard this attack goes. So far, not a lot of units being warped in, though. I think he's just waiting for his additional gateways to finish. But you know what? This just might just being used for a Archon harassment, which is not too bad, especially since there's no anti-air. Not quite yet, at least. The Spire is about to finish, and here we go. Those warpins does commence, and gonna fight at the ramp area, which is gonna allow the Archons to get maybe some additional splash damage, but just not quite enough. Yeah, I mean, Namshar already had the Roach Warren and was able to make more than enough roaches to defend, so looks like Creature not going to be able to make that work. Let's see here. Units lost tab. 1 Archon, 9 Zealots, 2 wow, he even lost the Oracles. That is quite tough. And now Namshar with the Spire, he's going to be able to start transitioning into Spire attack. Now, does Creature... I mean, I believe, yeah, Creature should have seen it. Just going to double check here. Yeah, he did see it. And, yeah, he's just immediately getting the blink research. But I think it's probably in his best interest to just put on some pressure, because you never know if the Zerg player has Mutalisk onto production. And right now, if he does have Mutalisk out on the field, then he can keep the Zerg's Mutalisk back at his side of the map by just attacking. This is a situation where, you know, his best defense is an offense. However, it doesn't look like he has enough on the ground. In fact, Namshar never went for those Mutalisks. Oh, it doesn't even get the hatchery. I would love to see him load on up like maybe a mortal and some charge lots. Go around, fly around, and get that hatchery. lot of Ravagers on the field. Creature once again keeping Namshar preoccupied. And to be honest, like Namshar could have theoretically just walked across the map and potentially just outright kill Creature, but looks like Creature is gonna be safe for the time being, and that is gonna bode well for him because right now he's researching Storm, which is gonna provide him so much zoning potential. Which will further, of course, buy him additional time for possibly disruptors, as he's getting that robotic spay. And you know what? Disruptors are the perfect units for what Namshar has right now. Disruptors, you know, can blow up those banelings as well as those roaches and ravagers. So, I mean, usually they kind of group up with one another, so it makes the disruptor hits much easier. Like right now, you see these banelings, they like clump up with one another. So, you know, usually disruptors can kind of blow a group of them, as well as look at here, like all these ravagers are so close with one another. All right, here we go, double prong attack, and these probes have nowhere to escape. Oh no. Yeah, I think at this point, Creature might as well just go for the all-in, right? I mean, theoretically, he can still climb himself back in terms of the worker count, but that's a lot of workers being killed. Okay, looks like he is going to go ahead and make a play, going for a run by while attacking at the kind of the front area. But banelings will clean that up, no problem. And here we go. Creature's making his way up the ramp. Oh man, these disruptors just providing him so much zoning. And Namshar, he can't do anything about it. He's got to retreat back home, make some more units, make some more banelings. This is such a scary army for Namshar to deal with. Oh man, those Ravagers are so squishy, so I mean, you have to wonder, should he have morphed them into Ravagers or just kept them as roaches? Roaches weren't even going down. That pretty much eliminates any more roaches from being made. These are the last couple of roaches on the production here. And Creature now has the high ground. If Namshar wants to engage this, he's going to have to run up the ramp, which is not ideal for him. And if Creature walks into the main base, then that's even a tougher situation for Namshar. Yeah, right now Namshar is he's limited to just making links. He doesn't have any roach warren, and there we have it. GG Creature. Gonna go ahead